Have you ever noticed that right before God does something remarkable in your life, He often removes the very people you thought you needed? Friends stop calling. Doors close on relationships you were sure were permanent. Community you built for years quietly dissolves. It feels like abandonment. It feels like loss. But what if it isn't loss at all? What if God is doing something you cannot yet see? Today, I want to show you 7 signs that God is hiding you before your greatest breakthrough. Psalm 27:5 says, "For in the day of trouble he will keep me safe in his dwelling. He will hide me in the shelter of his tabernacle." Notice the word hide. Not abandon, not forget. Hide. 1. The people who used to understand you no longer do. I once heard about a woman who felt closer to God than ever. Yet her closest friends started treating her like a stranger. Nothing had changed about her character, but somehow they no longer related to her. Here's the truth. When God is preparing you for something new, He often removes the voices that only understood your old season. David experienced this with his own brothers. When Samuel anointed him, his brothers didn't celebrate him. They mocked him. The very people who should have recognized his calling couldn't see it. Not rejection, preparation. 2. Your circle shrinks right before your influence grows. A man I knew spent years surrounded by people, always busy, always connected. Then, almost overnight, his social calendar emptied. He assumed something was wrong with him. But listen carefully. God often shrinks your circle before He expands your assignment, because a crowded life leaves no room to hear His voice clearly. Elijah stood alone on Mount Carmel before all Israel witnessed God's power. Solitude wasn't punishment. It was positioning. Not less than being prepared. 3. Doors closed that once looked promising. I remember hearing about someone who had an opportunity fall apart right when it seemed guaranteed. She spent weeks wondering what she had done wrong. But some doors close not because you failed, but because God is redirecting you towards something you cannot see yet. Joseph's brothers threw him into a pit, then sold him into slavery. That door slammed shut violently. Yet it was the very path that led him to the palace. Genesis 50:20 reminds us that what others meant for evil, God meant for good. Not punishment, redirection. If this is speaking to your heart right now, subscribe and write, "Lord, I trust the hiding," in the comments. Stay with me, because the next 4 signs reveal even deeper truths about how God prepares you before He promotes you. 4. You feel invisible even though nothing outwardly changed. I once knew a believer who kept serving faithfully, kept showing up, kept doing the right things, yet felt completely unseen by everyone around her. That feeling of invisibility can be one of the loneliest seasons of faith. But listen to this. 1 Samuel 16 tells us that when Samuel came looking for the next king, David wasn't even called in from the fields at first. He was invisible to his own family. But he was never invisible to God. The eyes that matter most were already on him, not forgotten, watched closely. 5. You find yourself doing hidden, unnoticed work. A man I heard about spent years doing quiet, unglamorous tasks that no one applauded, no one thanked him for, and no one even noticed. He wondered if his life mattered at all. But hidden faithfulness is often the training ground for visible impact. Moses spent 40 years tending sheep in the wilderness before he ever stood in front of Pharaoh. Those quiet years in obscurity shaped the leader he would become. God was not wasting that time. He was forming character no stage could produce. Not wasted time, shaping process. 6. Your prayers start to change from asking for things to asking for God Himself. I remember a woman whose prayer life used to revolve around requests. New job, new relationship, new breakthrough. But during a season of isolation, her prayers slowly transformed. She stopped asking God for things and started simply asking for more of Him. That shift is not accidental. It is often the clearest sign that hiding is working exactly as intended. Philippians 3:8 says, Paul counted everything as loss compared to knowing Christ. Isolation often strips away everything except what actually matters. Not desperation, desire for God alone. 7. Peace grows even though your circumstances haven't improved. This final sign might be the most important of all. I once heard about someone whose situation remained completely unchanged for months, yet something inside her had shifted. She wasn't waiting anxiously anymore. She was resting. Peace that grows before circumstances change is not natural. It is supernatural. Isaiah 26:3 promises that God will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in Him. That peace is often the final proof that the hiding season is nearly complete, and the breakthrough is closer than it has ever been. Not still waiting, almost ready. As you reflect on these 7 signs, understand that being hidden was never about rejection. It was never about being forgotten or overlooked. David was hidden in the wilderness before he wore the crown. Joseph was hidden in a prison before he stood in the palace. Moses was hidden in obscurity before he stood before Pharaoh. Every one of them was hidden before they were elevated, and if you feel hidden right now, you may be standing closer to your breakthrough than you have ever been. So today, stop asking why everyone seems to be pulling away. Stop asking why the doors keep closing. Instead, ask God what He is preparing you for in this season of hiding. Trust that the same God who hid David, hid Joseph, and hid Moses is hiding you for something significant too. If this message spoke to your heart today, write, "Lord, prepare me in this hidden season," in the comments. Share this with someone who feels forgotten right now, because they need to hear that hidden does not mean forgotten. And subscribe so we can continue growing together in biblical wisdom every week. God bless you, my brother, my sister. Until next time.